Hello, I'm Howard Gibbs. Welcome to this special edition of A Current Affair. Tonight we go straight to Brisbane for the report on the storms.
You know, this is your livelihood, this is what you work for, and this is your... It's just devastating, you know.
Brisbane under siege. The rain relentless, wreaking havoc across the city.
Our house is just up there too, and we're just going to hope and pray and that everything's okay.
The deluge that fell into Toowoomba and ripped a path of devastation through the Lockyer Valley is now feeding into an already swollen Brisbane River.
There's a car park and there's a walkway around the front, which is all gone.
Our business is only a few streets away, so we're just keeping an eye on it.
The Wivenhoe Dam is all that stands in the way of a repeat of the disastrous 74 floods.
I just feel so sorry for these people. Come in and look at this, and perhaps this will bring it home to you.
But with the equivalent of 2 Sydney harbours feeding into the dam every day, water has to be released, and that water is feeding into the Brisbane River.
You have to release the water rather than let it flow over the top of the dam, because that can place the dam in danger.
Dick Whittaker from the Weather Channel.
The actual prediction for the Brisbane River is about 3.5 metres during tomorrow, and that's certainly enough to produce a major flood. Just exactly how high it gets, of course, depends on how much water is coming in from today's rainfall.
To give you an indication of just how quickly the rain has fallen, just hours ago this street wasn't covered by water, and if the flood reaches its predicted peak, then houses in this street will go under.
Within 3 hours it broke the bank, and it was at our front door within 3 hours, and we realised how quick it can move up.
Trish and Ron lived through the 74 floods, their home just metres from the rising tide. It's happening all over again?
Well, I'm just glancing over your shoulder and I'm not liking what I see. I can see the water is now breaking the bank.
Sandbags are all that stands between their neighbour's home and the Brisbane River.
Might have to go and get another load.
They've been shovelling since 8 o'clock this morning. It's come in so quickly, hasn't it? Is that part of the concern?
It is, you know, you look out at the river there and it's just raging down. The police have told us to evacuate and move to higher ground.
Pontoons have been ripped away and this semi can't be saved. Southwest of the city, low-lying homes were the first to go under.
How's the community spirit here? Oh, well, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have anything.
In the inner city suburb of West End, the Yasmini family frantically move everything they can to higher ground.
It's apparently about 2 o'clock, the floodwater's peaking and they're going to come through the garage.
The Brisbane River is expected to rise an extra metre by tomorrow, with even higher levels predicted on Thursday.
We're seeing quite major flood peaks travel down the river systems, so a very serious situation continues.
Around 30 suburbs along the Brisbane River are expected to go under, as the torrent keeps moving relentlessly towards the coast. The worst-case scenario now a reality.
I haven't got it nearly as bad as so many other people, but it's still hard, you know, it's just still hard.
Hello, welcome to this special edition of A Current Affair. Thank you very much to Howard Gibbs. We are at Kangaroo Point, looking down on the rapidly rising Brisbane River, and all that water from the inland tsunami that we saw in Toowoomba and the absolute tragedy of the Lockyer Valley is heading here. It is an absolute torrent. It's full of debris, including nearly a dozen pontoons. They've been ripped from their moorings. They're coming down here badly damaged, and the council is having to go around trying to collect them up and tow them away before they damage anything else. To put it simply, it's been absolutely a horror 24 hours for all concerned. This situation is rapidly changing. So we are going to go to Michael Usher now, who is at the Emergency Management Headquarters here in Brisbane. And Michael, as I say, it's so widespread and things are moving so quickly. What is the priority right now for emergency workers?
Well, Layla, you're right. Everything is moving so quickly. The flow of information is overwhelming. We heard from the Premier, Anna Bligh, talk just 20 or so minutes ago, and she's having to give very regular updates because the information is just extraordinary right now. This is the State Operations Coordination Centre. You can see the people. They've been working non-stop, around the clock, fielding 34,000 calls. But as it stands at the moment, Layla, the river you're talking about should peak to an extraordinary amount, believe it or not, up to 6 metres by Thursday. Now, that's an amazing amount for the Brisbane River. Ipswich as well, they're talking about peaks there, Layla, of 22 metres. This surge is just so incredible, and it's continuing, and it hasn't hit its peak yet, Layla.
Michael, we've heard fluctuating reports all day about the number of people killed and the number of people missing. Obviously, it's hard to gauge, but what is the latest there? How many people are feared to have died and be missing at this stage?
All right, I'll give you those because we've just got them now, and they are terrible figures, Layla. The official death toll so far is 9. We understand that includes 4 children. Now, there are 59 missing. That number has been downgraded, but of those, they have very grave fears for 15, and I'm quoting the Premier, Anna Bligh there, very grave fears for 15. It could be that by morning we realise this death toll is around 24. And Layla, the terrible part of all this, though, is that there's still a lot they don't know. It's too dangerous to put some of the emergency workers in these areas. So they're still trying to get to people. They're still trying to find people who may be stranded, and they're still trying to work out where are these 59 people and how many of those may in fact have died, Layla.
Michael, I think it's hard for people to understand who aren't here that the weather conditions, it is still hammering rain. The number of storms around the place are incredible. If you look at the radar, it's just absolutely aglow. So, of course, the rescue choppers can't even get in there, can they, and cruise the rooftops looking for people to save.
This is every definition of a nightmare. I mean, they've done all the modelling. They knew there were floods in 74. They predicted what might happen, but this is all on a scale that they haven't dealt with really before. I mean, you have a think about around just the Brisbane area, Layla. They're talking about 9,000 homes being inundated. This is inner city Brisbane, and potentially 30,000 more being affected. Roads cut off. But in those outlying areas, particularly the Lockyer Valley, they can't get to some of those areas yet. It's a logistical nightmare. There are people calling in for help, and they just can't get to them right now. So it's an extraordinary situation. You can hear the noise in here. They're dealing with a constant flow of information. The Premier, Anna Bligh, is trying to update everyone every hour or so, but you've just got to spare a thought for those poor families affected already and the poor families that we just don't know about yet, Layla.